let's be clear. What do you mean I waited till I was 60 to get married, so obviously.
Did you really?
She only married me because she needed a green card, and
That's the way to do it.
You didn't get married until 60 years old.
Yeah, nobody asked me. I mean, I was waiting.
I love that.
You're supposed to ask.
Maybe that's what I did wrong.
Maybe that's what you did wrong. But maybe you did it right. I mean, I look back at, kind of like what we were as a couple then and like who she was as a woman. I would never make the decision to marry that type of person. You're just so much wiser, right? Like you're getting married now again.
I'm getting married.
What are you, 108,
Friday the
109? So, you get.
Well, that was nice because we were able to pick the best sellers and things like that. What you found was,
Bitch, I can see you falling asleep while I'm telling my story.
I'm not falling asleep. Look, just try it.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Two Homeboys Podcast.
I'm your host, Joe Walter, from Tango Multimedia. Google.
Well, let's get the whole
Google mechanic.
Google mechanic. I'm Gabriel Cohen with Classy Art, and our dear guest Larry.
I want to thank you for inviting me to this roast, and I'm ready to be grilled. I was going to say, turn up the heat. I obviously know that's what.
Larry, look at my good eye.
I'm sure they're both great. We could roast marshmallows. I don't know.
That would be fun. We should have marshmallows next market. It'd be good.
How did you get into the furniture business?
The old adage, I was born in a chest of drawers kind of thing. That was pretty much it since birth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this would be, I'd like to say I'm going to be 80 in 3 years. It doesn't sound as bad as 77. I was at the airport the night before last, and this lady says, wait a minute, are we rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, let's start going to
No,
this.
that's it.
We're in. You're in it.
So this lady's sitting behind me and talking to her sister about the mom getting off the plane. They're worried because she's much older and they're not sure she can make it by herself. And they're worried about the escalator. And she says, now that mom's 77, I turn and I go, dude, I'm 77.
My dad said that about 75. When he was 71, he said, nobody cares about you being 71. He's like, I'm just going to tell people I'm 75 for the next 4 years.
No, when he hits it, it's
yeah, it's just more interesting to say 75.
It used to be, are you collecting unemployment? Then it was, are you collecting Social Security? Now it's the three big questions are, why are you still there? Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah.
I hate that one.
It's funny because we were going to ask you that. We had a whole thing. We're like, what does Larry do? It comes to, we're like,
no, first it used to be, why are you still there? Now, no, it was what do you do? Now, why?
Yeah.
And then the famous one, are you still there?
Yeah.
I chased a guy down the street, I can't tell you who today, and he's a really close friend, a major retailer, but I walked almost a half a mile because he was walking so fast talking to his wife, and I finally yelled out to him, and he turned around and he goes, are you still working? I said, no, I just come to North Carolina because I like the weather.
It's a vacation. It's our vacation. Well, you heard the old joke, if your doctor gives you 2 weeks to live, move to High Point. It'll feel like eternity.
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
So, let's be clear. Like I said when we started, I don't really know Joe as well as I've gotten to know Gabe, but I complimented on his positive mental outlook and always thought him to be a very gregarious, approachable guy, but I've never approached you before. Maybe I was intimidated.
Well, that was good looks, man. Intimidating.
I was going to compliment you on your attire, but today I'm probably going to reserve that for the next time I see you. I don't know what you're doing.
That's marketing,
Getting
baby.
attention. I'm marketing. Yeah.
No, but it kind of looks like that guy from. Tim from with the hardware and the whole thing.
The tool belt?
The tool
Tim
belt.
the Toolman Taylor.
Tim the Toolman.
Yeah.
There it is.
No,
I don't know if
those
we
are
can
funny
say that
people.
on...
Those are funny people.
Yeah, that was a good show.
Yeah. Just a gimmick. It's just a gimmick. I try to do something unique outfit-wise every market to get attention, and it's sort of become a signature of mine now.
Well, I like it.
And then I just run out of ideas, and I thought, well, this seems just stupid enough to give it a shot.
I think
and-
this can be an ongoing
You know,
thing
for you
because
it works.
if you're
Yeah.
not marketing yourself as a marketer, you know what I mean?
Right, and that's
That's the thing. It's the ad company who doesn't advertise themselves, and so I loved seeing that.
yeah, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to walk around market and just
Yeah, I
hope
would.
to whistle or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ask people if they like to be tickled.
Maybe not in 2024.
No, don't do that.
Doesn't have the same effect it used to.
There was a comedian I saw, and he said, if somebody asks you if you like to be tickled, whether you say yes or you say no, they're still going to tickle you.
Yeah, of course. So,
What's his name? Bill Cosby?
okay. I didn't know we were going to go there. So, out of desperation comes innovation. And I keep thinking, what can I do to become more meaningful and purposeful? And we're on a corner, like it's a fishbowl. You can see everything. And so I'm getting these signs made up. I can put one in the front, one in the back, and stand out front and advertise. So I was thinking of going to Neon and say, can you hook me up with a battery pack?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll make that happen. Make a whole suit.
So, what do you do at Coaster?
What's your function?
I'd say typically my role and my responsibility is to engage. The word I've been getting is collaborate. Some people call me a fixer of things, when things go wrong. And the advantage of working for companies like ours is there are things that occasionally go wrong, and if it doesn't, if it's working too well, I'll figure out a way to break it so I can have jobs again. A connector, I think that's what they call me. When I was very young and in college, I got involved in fraternal life, and it distracted me. My grades went down. I started imbibing too much, and so we came up with this idea before. Actually, this is well before what you would know today as a computer or anything that you'd probably use, like a cell phone. And my friend had said, "Why don't we just create a giant Rolodex instead of a phone book?" And you try to get to know as many people as you can. So the favorites line is, "I know a guy. I got a guy." And we did that for a long time, and then it sort of stayed with me. So if I took you to my office and I keep them, I've got about 10,000 business cards, maybe 9,922. I don't count them every day. But I realized we don't use them anymore. So somebody told me this morning, if you have to have a business card to hand it, you're probably not that important. So I stopped handing business cards, and I feel more important. I like to say, if I don't have a business card, you can call me. But it's still important, right? Somebody has to know who you are. Somebody has to find you. So you just do something memorable that they'll never forget. Like yesterday, my zipper was down, unfortunately.
That's
in front of a
memorable.
major client.
That's a good move.
And the lady leans over to me, who's being nice to me, and says, "Your zipper's down." And so I turn around to this major buyer and I says, "Can you excuse me a second? He's not going to forget that."
Yeah. I'm going to just do it all day tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
how that
that's
goes.
the new move.
the new
Well, you definitely have a gift for connecting with people, and especially at the level of leadership that you are in your company. I think it's rare. As a retailer, I worked with lots of major companies, and I didn't encounter very many people that were as welcoming as you are. And it's just, is there something about, was it a decision that you made to be that way, like you were just talking about? Or do you think that it's also just kind of naturally who you are, that you're curious about folks? And
at an early age, I was told that I would never be in sales because to be in sales, you have to be able to consume your rivals. I was told collaboration is disadvantageous in a competitive environment. I've always felt like this industry lacked a collaborative. Years ago, we used to try to raise money to create a brand for this industry. So we had the venerable brands. When I was young, we had Broyhill and Thomasville and Bernhardt and Hickory and stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of those have imploded, unfortunately. And so the reality is, we want to brand the retailer, like is what you do successfully. But we also we want to have relevance as supply chain partners. And so we get to go to these events that we talk about, American Home Furnishings, HFA, and you take the gloves off, and you know, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I'm not going to say this is a trade. I'm going to say it's what I perceive. I've never tried to sell anything, and my boss tells me he doesn't pay me a lot because I'm not in sales. So it's a contradiction of terms. But I found that most of the people that you and I know in particular, we've seen each other at events, it's easier to be approachable and to approach people when they don't think you have a necessity to engage with them for the purposes of monetary gain. So I think that's why. But you know, and you know this, I use the word philanthropy. What it really means is the ability to engage people at a level that they have comfort and ask them to support a charitable cause without feeling intimidated or embarrassed. And that's what I like to do the most. So that's why we devote a lot of our time to things like City of Hope, I think you know. So.
Yeah. What do you think today's furniture retailers are missing the boat on?
I think it's a metamorphic change, and they've come to the realization that engagement with the consumer at a social media level, these are probably things you have expertise in that I lack. But I feel like consumers want to know who they're doing business with, and I can't say anything that would diminish the importance of e-commerce and, you know, what I call e-trade, pure play. I think there's a place for both in the industry and specifically our industry. But I like the intimacy of a relationship between a buyer and a seller and a consumer that's more physical. And at the same time, we've enjoyed tremendous benefits from the evolution of people like, I always say Amazon and Ashley. If they didn't exist, we probably would have all imploded years ago. You know, it's not that they want to make us be better, they force us to look at new ways of doing business.
Well, it's a lot like the Walmart thing, you know, like Walmart forces their manufacturers to become better at their job.
Yeah.
More efficient, better manufacturers.
There are some things that, you know, we've all read Sam Walton's book, I've been to Bentonville. There is no other company that defines rolling back prices and giving consumers the best value. And we confuse cost with value. And one of the challenges we have in our industry is we don't keep pace with inflation. When I was a kid, I'd sell furniture for $4.99 as a sofa, and I can buy one today for I can buy one for $3.99. And then this whole evolution of importing, which a lot of people look as a pariah, I think was a consumer that evolved in terms of what they perceived as value. And so the hardest thing we have to do is to convey that message in an economy where we all say prices relative to what milk and eggs and gas cost. And there's no relationship in my mind. So I think that's the biggest challenge we face is how the consumer perceives our commodity. We've commoditized it so much that the brand awareness comes from the retailer. We all look at a Restoration Hardware, Crate and Barrel, Pier 1 as setting the foundation. But I've been into many stores where I can see something of similar appearance as a much better value somewhere else.
Well, and when I was ending my retail days, there was a lot of talk of replicating the Restoration Hardware look. You know, there was a lot of emphasis being put on, like, we have Restoration Hardware look for less. And the problem, it didn't sell. In our stores, it didn't sell. And the problem was the Restoration Hardware shopper didn't come to other stores looking for that look. Now, I think it's a little different today. It's been advertised enough that, and from a search standpoint, we see lots of searches today for dupes, lookalikes, similar to. That is a phrase that has popped up in the last couple of years. That didn't, you know, people weren't searching for Restoration Hardware dupes 10 years ago. Well, and now it's huge.
Yeah, and so that whole concept still exists. Like, I'll have retailers that are like, we need something that's more Restoration Hardware-esque, right? And asking us, and it's interesting because they're not doing it for the name, they're doing it because that name is putting out what they feel is going to be the trend. So they feel if Restoration Hardware is doing it then that's coming next. And so the buyers who are coming into your stores, they're going to be a little bit behind on the restoration hardware styles.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, that was absolutely the case for us. Our buyers were always behind
Yeah.
the trend.
Yeah.
So when Rooms to Go was getting out of something, we did well with it because that customer was still looking for that
Interesting.
that look, and once they didn't have it anymore, we could pick it up and be the sole provider of that look.
So I call them aspirational brands. It defies logic that 13-year-old kids are spending $8 to $10 a day on Starbucks coffee. And I theorize that both parents and young people do that because they can feel a sense of wealth and entitlement from something that anybody could afford at Arco gas station for 85 cents. So the analogy I use is, I meet you on the street and I have a Rolex that I just borrowed from somebody's home that doesn't know it's missing. And it's an $18,000 Rolex, and I say, would you like this for $5,000? And yeah, you don't care the source. Or a situation where, your friend says, hey, I want to sell my Mercedes. What do you want for it? $23,000. So I go to you, who's my best friend, and say, I got this Mercedes for $28,000. I get to keep 3, you get 5. We walk away with it. So in our industry, I still keep coming back to the fact that, and I'm not a retailer, I was a retailer. If I look at this piece of furniture, I'm going to tell you exactly what it should cost. Because I went to China, I know how much is in a container. But I also put a value on it before I offer it to someone. So I have a perceived value of what I think it'll sell for. When I walk into Restoration Hardware, as a wholesaler, I can't conceive of how I could spend $10,000 for something that I could go to XYZ for $29.95. But that aspirational consumer, just like they want to walk through this shopping center with Williams-Sonoma or a Tiffany bag or a Crate and Barrel bag, they're not going to walk through there with a brown bag. Well, actually they do. The illusion that it creates. And also this other one I'm always saying is, nobody goes in your bedroom, but everybody looks what's in your driveway. So when we were kids, everybody would get a 57 Chevy. The dad, was back in the 50s. So you'd be waxing your car, you'd be doing all the things, and everybody wanted what somebody else had. So there's supposedly 2 things. One is greed, one's envy, and most of them are driven by envy. If you have a lot, it's because you're greedy. If you don't have a lot, you're envious of most people. I want what I don't have that you have. So I guess a lot of consumers are saying, I want what you have. I don't know if they go from Restoration Hardware. I don't even know if they go to Restoration Hardware.
Yeah.
I thought this was supposed to be fun and funny. I'm awfully serious. I haven't laughed once. I'm waiting for you to wind up. Hold on.
Well, yeah, there it is. We need a couple more of these in us.
No, it's funny. Hey, Gary. Damn, it's been a long time. I like it when people say, how old? It's not how old you are. It's how long have you been doing this? Mm-hmm. And my fear is I was going to say another 20 or 30 years, but it's probably about 2 or 3 weeks. I don't want to be hunched over carrying bags like when my uncles and my aunts and people in the business were doing that. I want to be able to stay upright, and as long as I can do that.
Well, I remember we had a rep, it was a dear friend of ours, Carl Cottrell.
I know, of course.
Yeah, and we were out at the Market on Main building.
Yeah,
We're
of course.
sitting, and the company we were showing with at the time, we had these director chairs, and we'd perch out there all day and watch, back when there was foot traffic on Main. And, Carl at the time must have been 85 years old.
Yeah, of course.
He never really had an easy time walking because his knees were bad. He was great when he was drinking.
Yeah.
He could dance. And we had this old guy come, and he was hunched over, carrying his roller bag, and Carl goes, man, if that was me, I'd hang it up. And we all look at each other like, what?
I say that every time I go somewhere lately. Jesus Christ, shoot me. Yeah. I came up with this really good idea. I was going to have 2 coffins made, one for High Point and one for Vegas. Some of us have actually, not me personally, but friends of ours, have actually had major things happen to them at a market, and they have to get wheeled out. And everyone's, it's like, I hope that's not me next time.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know, you guys are probably, I started going to markets when I was 6. So the first time I came here must have been in the
Wait,
late 50s.
good.
When you were 6?
I
God.
swear to you, I'm not.
Why? Kids aren't even
My
allowed
parents-
here.
No, my parents were in the business. Obviously.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, second generation.
What did
Well,
they
where-
do?
So
Yeah,
my
well-
peer group was always much older as an only child, and I sort of sat in awe of a lot of these major players in the industry. That back then it was more regionalized, so you'd go east and west, but you didn't really have national players. So that at that time it was all department stores, the Sears, the Bloomingdale's, they controlled a lot of the high league markets. They controlled and dominated. So when they came in, you'd have to roll out the red carpet and have all the right accoutrements and stuff like that. Now it's more regionalized. I don't really know anybody that's on a national basis that commands that kind of presence anymore. But you know, attitudinally, I think it's easier to work with people nowadays because we've taken away all the inhibitions about working with people. I don't know, maybe that's something you do when you get older. But these were venerable players. Not only did they get the big awards, but they'd walk in with 20 guys in suits and everybody would just, like the waters would spread. It's not like that so much anymore, but markets were very different, I recall. Especially in San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta. When I started at Coaster, we were doing 30 shows a year. It was like you could
30
fog, yeah, if you
shows.
could fog a mirror, we
Good.
were your
Yeah.
client, we were your survivor, we were your customer. Sometimes you just, like feeding the masses, you just throw out a lot of grain and hope somebody reacts to it. So doesn't work quite like that right now. So what do you guys think about the economy? Let's not talk about politics, but are you one of those guys that is worried about inflationary trends affecting your categories of products? Because the value looks the same to me and the price is about the same.
Yeah, no, doesn't bother me. I mean, we have a different perspective on things. You know, like so many people in our industry are so worried about their competition or, what the other guys are doing, and we don't. We're kind of like horses with blinders on. We just
Gabe, you have
do
no
what we do.
competition.
What's that?
You have no competition. You're a work
Oh
of art.
well, I appreciate
Or I'm sorry,
that.
you're a piece of work. I'm not sure. Which is it?
A piece of what?
A piece of work.
This is a family-friendly show, Joe.
Yeah, come on, Joe.
Yeah. No, well, we do have. There are many players out there that are in the same product category.
I'm aware.
But we
Remember,
just.
my wife's an
we're-
artist, and I was out here
That's
painting
right.
for her
That's
a couple
right.
years ago.
That's right. And so, I don't know. There's things that happen, and I don't like wasting time worrying about something that may happen or may not happen.
Instead of making things happen.
Yeah, just make things happen.
You can watch what happens, you can wonder what happens, or you just make things happen. And I think that's
Yeah.
been your success. I don't know as much about Joe, but I'm going to learn after this.
On that
Hey,
inflation.
you got any jokes?
The inflation.
This was supposed to be funny.
Well, you were the one cracking all the
Hey, could I-
jokes
okay,
earlier.
Could I have one of those Maker's Marks with some ice? Yeah. What the hell?
Oh,
Thanks, love.
thank you.
How are you doing?
That inflation thing I think is interesting. It makes good stories in the news. And then you go into Walmart, and I see a 95-inch TV for $1,400. And I think about the 42-inch, the first ever flat screen TV I bought that was $1,400, and it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, in some ways, things are not more expensive. And you talked about furniture, you can still buy a sofa for $4.99.
But they're different, right? Because, okay, so for the electronics, there's a tactic called planned obsolescence, right? So the 10 next levels of televisions technology already exist, and they trickle them out, right? And so they could have sold it at a margin at that $1,400 originally, right? But they're going to get that premium price as long as they can. But once the next one comes out, they can't do that anymore, so those prices go down. But they could just not bring out the next. Let's say there was only one manufacturer.
Yeah.
If they don't bring out the next technology, then their prices can stay as high as they ever were, because you still need that and you still want the best of the best, right? But each one's different, right? So like,
Well, and if you're a competitor, you're not like that's your way into the
you're
market.
going to bring the
is
next best.
Bring out the bigger
right.
one for cheaper.
So because there's not one company, so they have to keep getting better and better and better. Furniture's interesting because we're the only industry that prices have gone down over the years consistently, right? Like we're the ones that are racing to the bottom. Now, I mean, when you're looking at,
Do you have margin suppression or your costs of doing business in relationship to the freight, shipping, logistics? I guess what I'm asking is, so we used to sell framed art oils for $49.95
yeah,
in China.
right. So I'm referring to furniture. Art is different because it's somewhat arbitrary, right? So I can take two pieces of art that are identical, and one I can put them on, one of these walls here with a bunch of other art, and then I can take that same piece and put it on this super flat white wall all by itself, and all of a sudden it's 10 times the price.
I get it.
And so, it's a little bit different with art than it is the furniture, because furniture is significantly more commoditized.
So how much of a factor do you think branding of so I'm going to relate to the bedding industry being brilliant. Companies like Tempur-Pedic, it used to be 30-year warranties. Now it's like, as soon as you get it home, but with absolutely universal return policies, so anybody can send anything back for any reason. So, and there's a lot of consumer awareness through co-branding. So the majors, same thing in electronics, the majors, same thing in appliances, the majors. They all spend significantly more to gain a positioning stable with the mind of the consumer. But the margin suppression is significantly different. Their margins are probably 18 to 22%. We like to see ours are 50% at retail. Would you like to see manufacturers investing more in consumer branding, or do you feel confident that that's the responsibility of the retailer, regardless of how many stores they have?
The retailer. I think
in our industry that seems to be the case, so you are that proponent.
Yeah, I think that because we don't have a national retailer per se.
Well, we do.
There's one, but
Absolutely.
I think that the retailers have done a good job of branding stuff as their own, and I think that helps us. It helps the independent retailer keep a little bit of control. In the sense that if the manufacturer was the brand, then it would be easier to get rid of the independent retailer.
Well, the theory, I think, with the company we're talking about is that they add value through the brand for the independent retailer, just like Apple would. So, you can have a factory-owned store, you could have a factory outlet store, you could have the brand. So, so I think what I'm alluding to is, with that understanding, my perception and my concern would be, there are e-commerce retailers who define their success by the brands of the products they sell, just like years ago, we would say, buy brands for less money, nationwide brands for less money there. And so I guess my question to you, because you're the expert in this, does the consumer in our industry is my concern. We've commoditized it with overseas manufacturing. All of the relative brands were manufacturers until they imploded, basically. So how do we, as supply chain partners and manufacturers, add value to the retail brand using social media, consumer behavior patterns? Our names, probably like yours, are pretty venerable in e-commerce. I'm guessing you allow them, it's not always private label. We're becoming more recognized. We have a lot of followers on our website, and yet we're not a retail partner. But then we share that data with the retailer, and then we commingle as assets, and we actually forward all that activity to the retailer. Our goal is to provide relevance for the retailer.
What was the question?
When you guys do what you do, you're working mainly for retailers, not suppliers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Well,
thought.
both.
Mainly, we're doing both.
They've branched
in
into
different-
the supplier
different ways.
But it used to be years ago, they would come to us, guys like us, and say, we need some market development funds to create awareness for the brand, but not the
For your
product.
brand.
Not really.
Yeah, they
When
would
you
just
get into the
ask
store,
for-
you have a choice. Department stores used to do a 4% load factor.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what it's for. It's to help my margins. So that is the conundrum. So with a major branded mattress company, you have to utilize that resource to promote their brand. So I'm asking you, do you think there's advantage in the future for supply chain partners and manufacturers to co-brand, or would you rather still see it as an investment that the retailer makes?
So in that sense, there's definitely an efficiency that could come from the manufacturer side. You know, like you could by creating more of a brand for your products, then the retailer ends up with a scenario where somebody comes in saying, "Do you have Coaster?" Like, I'm looking specifically for Coaster.
Or do you have Ashley?
Yeah, or Ashley, or
And my point is, that's about it, because most retailers private label, and the ones that don't, well, you know, so it's rumored that if you can fog a mirror, you can get our line. If you have a catalog, you're in business. You have to make a big investment. And that was a reality. So I guess the point being is people actually do come in and ask for our product. Surprisingly so. But a lot of it was a result of mailing out tens of thousands of catalogs. So every time you'd walk into a store, we were one of those things that you see. Now that print has sort of regressed and media becomes important, well, you know, it is too serious a question because you're going to answer it off camera. So I thought we were going to lighten this thing up a little bit.
Well, so another thing that I see happening, just to on that line of thinking, is that people will encounter your brand through other places, and then they come in looking for, like, so for example, Wayfair. So if somebody finds a Coaster product on Wayfair, but they don't want to buy from Wayfair, then they will come in and say, "Do you have this Coaster item?" I see that kind of thing happening often in the retail world, where they have been introduced. It's not so much that they are in love with the brand, it's the item that they saw that fits their price point, needs,
Function and form.
yeah, taste, and that's why they end up asking for the specific
The
brand.
irony is that we were significantly committed to Wayfair in the early days of their evolution, and we didn't mutually. We came to the realization that, like some of us, we thought it would be a conflict of interest with our retail partners, so we private labeled the brand and they actually paradoxically created a brand within a brand for us, and one of the conditions was you won't use it for anybody else. And of course we were very permissive, but their demands were far less. That's changed over the years. But what we've noticed is that same type of product, when it goes on a marketplace like Walmart or Amazon with the brand associated with it, I think that was the question I want to ask you. Are you seeing organic growth from a non-traditional retailing, or do you think it's a bit parasitic? Do you think the same consumer is making a choice between how to buy, or do you think there's a generational issue where younger people choose to buy this way? And
No, I don't think it's age, and I think that is a huge misconception, and I hear it all the time.
We do
My
too.
customers are older; they don't watch YouTube. My customers are older; they don't
Are you
shop
kidding
on
me?
Yeah.
they don't shop on Wayfair, and
so wrong.
or you know, my customers are older; they don't need new furniture, and it is not the way it's happening in real life. They are absolutely buying stuff on Wayfair. I think that the online shopper is mainly today a case good shopper, where you're not
Interesting.
dealing with a comfort thing.
Okay.
But it is transitioning towards a little more upholstered goods.
Now, but your perception about all this, and it's been for quite a while now, is if I'm shopping and I'm researching that's my attitude. If I'm buying, I'm looking for something specific. What I find is that we sell a lot of individual pieces online, and we will sell a dresser 10 times more we'll sell a bedroom set. So if I'm looking for an experience, function over form, I'm encouraging you to go to a retail store to make the best decision, because our return rate was exceptionally high when people used to take a risk and buy a living room set or a dining room set. There's a lot of tactical concerns about that for companies like ours. So we all jumped in, blindly in the initial stages. And I think there's a regression pattern saying, what's the true cost of doing business? Because we have to do margin analytics. Unfortunately, we're all kind of feeling a little bit of desperation because of the market conditions. But I think ultimately there's going to have to be a symbiotic omni-channel experience where you have, so you let the consumer choose what way do you want to do this. I was just under the impression initially we all thought there was going to be a whole class of trade that wouldn't have ever gone into a store that's going to buy online. And that's not what we're experiencing.
Yeah. And
so, Gabe, lighten up, man.
I'm just.
No, I'm not excusing you.
I'm
not excusing
supervising
you.
it.
I'm not excusing
I'm
you.
ensuring that you guys stay within the lines. There's no swearing.
Hey, darn it!
Hey,
I do have one other
Speaking
point
of,
about this.
we have a
though.
mutual friend, Dan Wyzorek.
We have a lot of
No, but what
mutual
is he
friends.
doing now?
He is in the sex education business.
I knew we were going to get to this sooner or later.
Yes. You asked. I knew exactly where you wanted to go.
No, but I was
I'm
told it
sorry,
was
sexual wellness.
Well, no, but I was told it's unique apparatuses that you could use to affect.
Yeah, have some here. You want me to?
He's got his whole backpack full.
Never leave home without
Does it
them.
involve neon lighting in the room? And
I feel like it should. Yeah.
Well, he's in the trade show business.
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
fair to Dan, Dan's
I
in
know
the
how to
trade
date
show
myself.
business.
We used to sell and buy water beds. Some of the biggest retailers in the industry started in the waterbed industry.
Well, that's City Furniture with waterbed guys.
Well, I was going to actually mention marijuana, but they didn't smoke marijuana. They told me that. City Furniture, Home Furniture. It was an entire genre of business. It's amazing how certain things, Plush Crush, the fad element of the industry. So I'm curious about what current trends are for you guys. What is your consumer resonating for? Is it contemporary? Is it mid-century modern? Is it?
Well, so we don't have any set type of customer.
Okay.
And I think it's because of the diversity of our product. So we have from as traditional as you can get to as contemporary as you get. And it's interesting, I was walking with a customer today who said they had some contemporary furniture stores in Dallas. And we were walking through this one area and there's all these abstracts. And he goes, "No, these are too traditional for us." And I was just kind of blown away because just before that I had the customer going through the same area and they're like, "Yeah, it just feels like you guys are just too contemporary for us." And so what I realized is they are so modern and contemporary that our idea of contemporary is traditional to them. And so it's
Now I'm
all
understanding
perspective. Yeah.
Perspective. My other favorite one is we have that look covered.
Oh, we
So we
have
spent
that
a year
look
developing
covered.
something, pay designers for it.
Yeah.
It's the only one of its kind in the world today. It's unique. It's priced well, but I have that look
I have
covered.
that covered. Yeah.
Or I have that price point covered.
Are you still selling Louis Philippe?
Do you know we were the largest retail whole distributor of Louis Philippe in the country, in the industry? We opened up factories. And then I think the way it came about is we had hired a guy that moved here from Hawaii. He was looking for CSO. We had what they call island fever. He came here, great guy, used to work for Levitt's advertising. And he walks into the boss one day and he says, "I think this will sell." It was called Louis Philippe. And my boss said, "Are you crazy? We don't even in the bedroom business." So we got a factory to build it, so like that. Next thing I know, between pressed wood, which was nostalgia oak, and Louis Philippe and white and natural chairs, it exploded. And people would say, "I want to show you something new." Well, obviously Louis slept in that bed, so it's not new to the consumer, but that was the perception. Yeah, we sell a lot of them, but there's so many variations. That's another interesting thing about furniture. Anybody can take a piece of furniture in a picture, make it and scale it differently to affect cost. So the consumer may or may not have an understanding. You guys know anything about the new concept, Temu, Xi'an, all these ways of doing business?
That's where our outfits come
Yeah.
from.
Jesus Christ. I know they're doing a big Halloween business right now. But the perception is something like free delivery, no taxes, unlimited returns and stuff like that. We created that. It didn't exist. And here's another irony. I don't know, see, this is age related. When we were kids, we used to look at Sears catalogs, partly to look at the lingerie and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But we did, as industry people, we did a lot of business with catalogs. We didn't know what a computer was. We didn't know we didn't know what content was. You'd see a picture, you'd order it, and you'd be in, northern Oklahoma or something like that. So we think we invented something with technology and e-commerce and stuff, but it's always been there. I don't know. Do you guys do a lot of catalog business? I guess. Does somebody have to see your product on a wall to really make a good decision about it?
No, because we do some e-com, and it's not a big focus because we like to protect our brick and mortar. But I find that our brick and mortar retailers, if they're new, do prefer to see it firsthand because you get no dimension.
I agree.
And you don't get to see the finishes. Like some of these things have let's say a really nice high gloss, reflective finish and whatnot, and you can't portray that in the
And the texture. The texture is I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah, and people buy us because of our heavy textures, and so
I think sometimes we believe it so much we want to kind of convince each other, but there are many times in our showroom I say, don't sit on that.
That'd be good for your Airbnb, but otherwise.
that's funny.
Okay, come on, lighten up for a minute. So, lighten up.
You were
starting to
just
get-
laughing.
I'm getting a complex about how dull and serious
Yeah,
we
No,
are.
dude.
no, it's
You're
my
making
fault.
us insecure, Larry.
No, I take this shit seriously. That's the truth is,
Well, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you're the
I'm
problem.
reaching a point where I don't know if it's evolution or if it's migration patterns, but it seems like a lot of my friends are calling me up and say, hey, I need furniture for my house, and these are people that are pretty secure financially and stuff like that. And I say, well, let me take you to XYZ, which is that company you're talking about, or let me take you here. I took them to the largest retailer in Southern California. They walked through the entire showroom and couldn't find anything they liked.
Yeah.
Well, that's another aspect of the
I'm talking about
online
life.
thing.
Yeah.
Like people
crazy.
turn to online when they can't find what they want.
Which
And
is
it's
why
be-
we profess omni-channel. Give the consumer. There is a dichotomy of perception. So, do I want to sell what I own, which is the right thing to do? I've made my investment, and then the other side of it is, do I want that consumer to leave? And I'm told the close rates are much higher for retailers today because you're seeing less people who are more committed.
Yeah.
But I think the reality is people are still shopping online before they have preconceived notions.
Absolutely. And one thing, what I didn't realize until I got out of the retail side of the business, every piece of furniture that I had ever owned, I got for free or from, we had a store. So I took home what I wanted, and I think that furniture retailers have that mind. They've never actually gone shopping. And so now, for the first time in my life, 2 years ago, I moved and I had to go out and buy furniture like a regular person. And so that process, it was, for us, it was a lot about, we could not find what we wanted. And so the sectional came from a store. The dresser came from Anthropology, like a clothing store. And it was way overpriced for what it was, but it was the look. And so that was expensive. But then the other thing came from Home Goods and TJ Maxx. The journey took
You're
us
embarrassing me.
all.
I'm serious, dude.
But that's the
You
way.
make a good living. Come on.
But
Now you're gonna tell me what kind of car you drive.
I don't have a car.
He rides the bus.
You sound like you live in Europe.
But the actual purchase journey took us to all kinds of different places. We went to, there's a store called Nadeau around us, and it's just like a small little, it's a chain of some sort, but it looks like they have imports from India or Mexico.
Sure.
But that thrift stores, like,
But if
to
you
get
had
the
one of
look,
those,
That's eclectic
if
shopping.
there
It's-
was one of those mega furniture stores,
we have it. We have the mega furniture store. We got Furniture of Dalton is right down the street. It's such a massive store that they have a fake house inside the store, a 2-story fake house inside. It's like they have everything. We bought a rug. We bought a
Still
rug from
couldn't
them.
find it all.
Yeah,
in one spot.
yeah. I mean, we went to all of the furniture stores around us. We went to Ashley and Rooms to Go and Haverty's and Lazy Boy. We went everywhere, but that's where we ended up buying from. Were all of these different places, and I expect that that's what the consumer today is also doing.
So this is something that I've always expressed concern about, especially in probably areas where you live, where I live in Southern California. The amount of money that a person would invest in anthropology, or a purse, or a pair of shoes, or anything that makes me feel good about myself that other people can see and have envy with, is nowhere near what I'm willing to spend for the experience I could have at home. We felt that way for a little while during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We moved away from that a little bit, but I mean, early on, what I remember is most people had a mattress for 30 years and then they gave it to their kids when they got married. Now we have a 10-year warranty. So we've kind of changed, like you said, that obsolescence issue. But in furniture, there's really not a lot of obsolescence unless you want to change trend or thought. And so
There's style obsolescence, and there is a bit of planned obsolescence as well, but it's a little bit different than technology. They piece the next one coming out very slowly. We have forced obsolescence. So like you were talking about the 30-year mattress warranty, and now 8's our number, right? And I think it's even shorter now, but I don't remember who the brand was, but they were advertising, have you had your mattress 8 years? Trying to
Replace
time to
an
replace
8.
it.
Yeah.
Replace an 8. And you're like, wait, what? When did this become a thing, right? So
Well, my dad was a mattress guy, and they did a study, and it said that your body changes enough in 10 years
believe that.
that the same mattress is not comfortable to you 10 years later because your body has changed.
yeah.
So regardless of the breakdown of the mattress and the foam and all, whatever else happens, it's that we change enough in that amount of time that you may need something firmer or softer or different now than you did then.
like putting duct tape on a recliner. The guy says, honey, I don't need to replace this, it's fine.
Yeah, I love it.
What would you be doing if you weren't selling furniture?
With
You were
as
in
much
college
as-
and you
as-
weren't.
No, honestly, I probably, I could get a PhD in Netflix. I am really good at doing nothing, and I've been doing it for so long and getting paid for it that I'm afraid to what would happen if I actually.
It's funny because we were talking about, we were trying to figure out what you do, and then you were like, I hate the question, what do you do? And earlier I was like, yeah, what the hell do you do? And now we got it figured out. PhD.
Nothing. Netflix.
The thing is seamless transparency. So you've read the book Good to Great and all these books about what,
I don't
trans-
read books. Have you
come
seen
on.
my eyes?
It's difficult.
Well, you do audiobooks.
I can read both pages at
I
once.
ingest a lot of
Speed
audiobooks
reading.
now. It's funny.
No, I'm just kidding.
So
I've read a book.
Yeah, I guess you want to sort of, not leave much of a trail. You just want to sort of transcend all the things that most people want to take credit for, and hopefully evolve through this maze that we call furniture, which is probably not so different than other commodities. I've got a friend that cuts down trees for a living, and he became a billionaire doing that. And he started cutting down the trees.
That's a
Now
lot
he
of
has-
trees.
Yeah, a lot of trees. Other people have been in technology. And anyway, the point is, they're all retired now. So I said, what do you do? Well, I know these are guys with obviously resources. I know from 4 to 6 they have La Crema at this bar. I know from 6 to 9 they have happy hour at this bar. I know I can watch the game at this bar. And then on the weekends, You know, I can take my Maybach to the car wash and get $10 off and stuff. So the colleagues that I have are my age. So I'm going to set up like a bocce court or some kind of a bullshit, you know, like you see in the movies, moving, you know, checkers around and stuff like that. But you know, and then the big thing is relevance. You're probably at you're at the height of your career in terms of relevance, and then you start to determine, well, you know, they go from relevance to significance, and then you start to feel a bit in, and then you're overwhelmed by the age of successful people like this young guy here, and so it's kind of a metamorphic thing you have to accept at some point. One of the problems you have is when I'm an elevator at our offices, and you have to go up the stairs to get to the second floor. So there's going to be a point in time where they're going to kick me to the curb just because I can't make it upstairs.
Well, and so what I actually meant was, if you hadn't taken this path into the furniture business, what would you have done as a career otherwise? Like when
Okay,
you
so
were
I give you
little,
the
you want to be a
Reader's Digest
fireman
version.
or...
So from 6 to whatever, in my early 30s, there was a change of life situation. You know, the parents stepped aside, and so I decided to reinvent myself. So I think it was maybe early in my career, somebody comes to me and says, hey, this computer thing's gonna be a big thing. And you know, they had the 5.5-inch floppy and no even 10 megabyte hard drives.
You know about having a 5.5-inch floppy.
I wish it was 5.5.
Right. Number 3 Woody. So I thought it was brilliant. So I started working in that field. So I went into the legal profession, started working with attorneys, found it really enjoyable, did a lot of work for them in legal accounting. And you find out most of these guys get money various ways. The criminal attorneys get paid usually with a bag of cash. So I enjoyed it a lot, and I saw the evolution. And I was probably much younger, and I went to a seminar with this guy, Bill Gates. He was probably 19. He was giving a lecture.
The Microsoft
Someday,
guy.
everybody's going to have one of these in their house. And I go, bullshit. And I thought it was great. So I worked up to a level, and then somebody came to me and had this briefcase. This is all true stuff. And they opened up and said, this is a telephone. This is going to be big someday. So I started selling cell phones, and I thought that was the next big thing. And then they came out with the 8000 Motorola. We were making more on the service, but I don't know what it was. I don't know, you know, maybe it was, I don't know, in my DNA. I kept migrating back into the residential home furnishings industry. And so I've seen the evolution of, we used to go to CES shows and
Still
Combat
didn't answer the
shows.
question, did
Well, no,
you?
he said if he wasn't doing this, he'd be working at the T-Mobile store.
But no, but if you want, I've done that. I worked at Microsoft. No, but what I wanted to do is I want to be behind the camera, not taking pictures in the movie industry. I'm most fascinated about, you know, like I just get lost in that. So when you have a mind, like there's a squirrel over there, like that, you know what I'm talking about? You have an ADD. I like getting lost in that. So the best, probably my greatest skill is watching. You know, like Peter Sellers in the movie. You're too young to remember.
What's the name of the movie?
There was a comment in it about, he was just kind of a guy that was an idiot, and he got hit by a person. So he used to say, I like to watch. So he became like this profound person. He met with congressmen and ambassadors and stuff. He never said anything, but he'd go, Like Forrest Gump, sometimes you just want to watch. It's easier to be a spectator in life, right? And we need spectators.
Observers.
Observers. Yeah. So I guess we're not going to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about that.
Well, who are you voting for?
Right, okay. Is the question is who would divorce you if you voted for a certain person?
Well, so okay, we can't talk about politics, but we can talk about is, do you vote along the lines of what your spouse dictates?
100%. 100%.
What's that?
I met a guy who had a chain of rent-owned stores, and he said to me one time, I will vote Democrat because that's what my customer, like this was his interpretation. That's what helps my customers. That's what my customers want. So he's like, my own political beliefs have no bearing. I'm going to vote for what my customer would want.
Really?
Interesting
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah. And he's like, he never did say what his belief was about it. He just said that's my outlook on things. And I'm
You know,
like,
in
that's
Tesla,
sacrificing
they have
yourself.
they have a big screen and they have iTunes. So literally, because I'm so ill-informed, so politically lacking, that I go like this: CNBC, Fox News. I found out about MSNBC. I didn't know what that was, and then I went to this politically correct station. And I'm doing this all day long lately, and my head's going to explode because one of the problems with being I'm not confrontational. So you say something that makes sense to me, yeah, that makes sense. And he says something that makes sense, that makes sense. And now nothing makes sense. You know, I'm actually going into the hotel at 11 o'clock at night, and something's up there about one of these two political parties, and nothing's nice.
Well, I just heard a quote too, and the guy said, I'm the farthest left right winger, or something like that. And I was like, that's probably where all of us are. Yeah. We, you know, one side, like we are all very close to the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
And the news and the advertising sales doesn't happen in the middle.
Yeah.
That's not interesting.
Yeah,
so the money all goes to the ends, but most of the regular people are very close to the middle of the road.
Yeah. I
So
agree
it's
with
not
that.
political, but the toughest question for me is forget what do you do, because that's not an answer I have for you guys. But am I better off today than I was 4 years ago, or am I worse off today? I'm in pretty good shape, but I don't know if it's just unique because I perceive things because of age being somewhat different, because I'm at sort of the end of a career versus a young man today thinking about the future of that career. And you guys seem pretty grounded to me, you know, like.
No, we're really out of this world.
Yeah,
we
we're
are
loopy.
cannot relate.
Loopy.
Cannot relate to the average person because things are so unique for us. I think if you looked at each 4-year period, I shouldn't say you. When I look back at each 4-year period, I was okay.
In
I
all
was
of them.
okay in
Yeah,
all of them.
All of them.
It-
But the way the media spins it, it's like the
the
death
world's
of
going to
the
end,
world.
or you're going to be
World War III.
I have
and-
gradually moved up in life, you know,
Right.
and but every 4-year period is
But you know
as,
what? And I hate it, but it is effective. And you know, they do it because it's effective. And there's so many people that feel like that, like the world's gonna end, the economy sucks, and I can't tell you how many reps we'd have to let go of or kick out of the showroom because they're being negative and they're just regurgitating the shit that they hear on the media.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks.
people are still going to want to put art on their walls,
They're
and they're
still
still
gonna
going to
buy a new
need to
mattress.
sit on a sofa.
Yeah.
One of the things about inflation that concerns me the most is the option of not necessarily buying something to affect change. So we invest.
Priscilla, the new Last Supper. Scarface over there.
Are you working during the podcast?
Oh, my bad.
This is all on.
Sorry, folks. We yes.
Oh my
I have
goodness.
for quite some time. Tell Courtney.
This is a live. This is a
live.
hot set. Hot set.
Guys, we are in the middle of the market. I got one of my biggest dealers just walked through, and we're
He didn't
here.
buy anything.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
so do you have any celebrity endorsement brand people that you lured into your den of inequity here and got them to spill the beans about how well they do for the industry?
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
in.
You're it.
I'm talking about somebody that gets paid to.
Molly was on the podcast. You met Molly.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Molly
she
was
was on.
on, and Patrick from AMP was
I was
on
thinking.
the podcast.
I was with them last night.
Yeah.
I was thinking like Trisha Yearwood or Cindy Crawford.
We don't want them.
Yeah,
we
no.
don't want them. They keep calling and begging.
We just we don't ignore. Yeah.
So, okay, my new idea. We were talking about this earlier. Well, actually, he gave me this suggestion. I would like to see you guys, because I don't have the collaborative skills to put all this together, but because I'm fortunate to know a lot of young people, and many of them have been elevated to, CEO status, president status of fourth generation companies, and they're coming into their own. And so we know a lot of them. They don't really have a way of communicating amongst themselves other than to go to like leadership conferences where the older guys are sitting there, I call them kvetching and talking to each other and stuff. And we tried to do it with HFA, but it was during a period of time, the pandemic was a little difficult to get a group together and stuff. So I'm suggesting that we consider doing something like that, where you start interviewing these people, whom I talk to a lot of, and have had a connectivity with. And I think it'd be a lot of fun for you guys. Secondly, what if we put you up on a panel at Furniture Day at the leadership conference, put you on one side, you on the other, and put some victim in the middle, and you eviscerate them.
I like the sound of that.
Eviscerate them, man. Yeah. Because there's not enough controversy in this industry.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's
that is true. That's
Okay, I'll give you one
I
example.
have heard that. And that's
last
pretty good.
night, I was tempted to go on stage.
Stand up and scream and say what?
Go on
I'm
stage
mad
and
as hell
say,
and I don't want to take this anymore.
enough of this bloviating from these, like guys that have gotten 50 awards already. We've all heard it.
Not always. Some of those guys have never gotten an award before and they're humbled by the experience. Some of them have gotten an award. Being There is the movie with Peter Sellers. And there's a scene in the movie.
Squirrel.
There's a scene in the movie. There's some classics. A lot of people quote Saturday Night Live. Just some classic scenes over the years and stuff. But I enjoy when somebody. I'm not sports minded. I'm sure you guys are. When people start like our sales.
We're not sports minded either.
I am not. So I'll see our sales guys sitting around watching a game and quote statistics and quote batting averages and quote NFL league percentage.
But they don't know a price
and
on
then
their
I say, how much
best-selling
is
bedroom.
that? Let me go look. So whatever drive, and then like last night, you see the passion. Last year, I think when Ron or Todd got an award, there was 4 generations of Ashley people there. And then they were talking about Father, Son, Holy Ghost, grandfathers, like that. And I'd shoot myself. It's not something that I espouse to do. So yeah, I diversified, tried to do other things, and felt like this was the future.
Banana flavored.
Banana flavored.
I think that computer thing could have been a good gig.
For you?
Oh yeah, I was living in Silicon Valley. But nobody knew anything about it. It was kind of what you call virgin.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, Gates was 19, Zuckerberg wasn't born. All these guys that are.
That's wild that you were
how
there.
How about this? Do you feel like there's an inequity imbalance between guys that are approaching $1 trillion in income and guys that are sitting here talking shit about the next big thing that's going to happen?
Yep, I think as much of a capitalist sort of mindset that I have, and you should get to enjoy the spoils of your hard work. Yeah. It's also really weird when if you made $10,000 a day every day for 100 years, you would still not have as much money as Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Or
you could give $1 million a day to somebody to get them to vote your political.
Well, money in politics is a real problem.
I think everybody agrees that needs to stop, except the politicians.
Which are the ones who make the rules.
Yeah, yeah. So the people that make the rules.
I'm not so sure it's the politicians as those that support the politicians.
Well, if they were unallowed to accept campaign funds, then those people who are doing it couldn't do it, or those interest groups who are doing
these
it
are like
do it. It would still happen. It would still happen.
Can you imagine raising $1 billion for a political campaign for nobody that wants you?
It's unreal.
That means how many billions of dollars are being spent with people that don't want you as,
Yeah.
as their candidate. Even local politics, to become a city councilman now, it's a very expensive calling, I guess. You know, many are called, few are chosen. I don't know how to aspire to something like that anymore, because basically it becomes a popularity contest based on the dollars you're willing to invest to be relevant.
Yeah, I don't understand why that's a.
Well, I heard a thing once that said, we overestimate the importance of the president or the importance of the national election,
Sure.
and we underestimate the importance of our local
State
elections.
Which are impacting your daily life.
Yeah,
Significantly more. Yeah, that's true.
You wear short socks with short boots.
Why are you worrying about what I got under my Chelsea boots?
I mean,
what kind of shoes you got on?
I got on just.
What, you got a
sneakers.
teenager with them little kids?
I got on free
Are
shoes
those-
I got from Amazon.
Are those Vans?
I'm a working man.
Did you
see my
ride your
outfit?
Did you ride your skateboard to work?
For years it was Kohan. Now it's shamelessly plugging for OC on
The
Cloud,
on clouds.
Yeah.
I see
What
a
is the
lot
on
of those.
which I thought was the
That's-
guy on TV that invented the skateboard shoes, DC. I didn't know I was wearing these all these years when I found out there was this one. But it's amazing how trends and fads. When I was a kid, it was Adidas and Converse, and now it's Converse again. Things tend to, evolve over time. But sometimes, like we were going back in time a couple times. I like to say my first TV was a Philco, and when we went into color, we would take a transparent sheet of red, yellow, and green and put it over the face of the cameras. Things have come a long way, baby. So our first big screen TVs were what they call projection and rear projection. They were thousands of dollars, so I could go into Costco.
And it took out a
today.
big space in the room.
It was half the living room, yeah.
That was the rich kid had that.
Yeah,
You go to
yeah.
his house. They had
Yeah.
the good popcorn.
Well, that aside, I'm going to keep coming back to the very first part of the conversation. Furniture has not evolved to the same degree in terms of the valuations. I think we're kind of inflation-proof, and I just don't know that that's going to change. Restoration Hard's building a multi-million facility in the area that I live. They did one in Dallas. That's an experience, and
Yeah.
it's an investment. And they're going to put in a culinary 5-star Michelin chef. They're going to have entertainment. So it's becoming a destination for a center that is fairly successful, but it's going to elevate the perception of why I would want to go and shop there.
Well, and Molly, our friend Molly, will go to Restoration Hardware for brunch.
Oh yeah, of course.
Which is
Like,
crazy.
Just
Yeah, but
for
yeah.
the restaurant experience,
Yeah.
not for the shopping, not for the home furnishings.
She's absolutely that.
But I've seen but
That demographic.
But
That-
that's
she's that
what
demographic.
they're doing. But
Yeah.
they're making it a place that you go to for other stuff, and maybe you pick up a $10,000 sofa on your way
Just
out.
an impulse buy.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
Get you mimosa'd up and.
So another topic that I'm astonished by is young people that have $1,500 iPhones and 30-mile-an-hour electric bikes and spend $10 a day at Starbucks.
And they rent a house.
I'm talking about 13-year-old kids, not the
Oh,
parents.
oh.
So the value proposition for me is somewhat skewed. When I was much different than you, we wanted to always be the same Pendletons, the same khakis,
Oh.
the same. We wanted
And
to be
it's
the
funny,
same.
it's the opposite now. They want to
Now
be
it's
so
the opposite,
different, but
yeah.
they're all so different that
That they're all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I
love
do have one
that-
more question. Why are people wearing beards down to their navel now? What is that?
What are they wearing?
Beards down.
Can you grow a beard?
I wouldn't.
But could
That
you?
wasn't a question.
I don't know.
I can't, and I would love to. It's like a push-up bra for your face.
The hair on my nose and my
Love
ears
it.
grow.
I've
so
been using that so much.
When you get old, you have hair in your ears, hair in your nose. That's embarrassing as it is. But no, I'm saying, what about these guys on? They're very. Is it relevant to have this ability to grow your beard down to your navel?
I don't. I mean, maybe if you're in a
Shows
biker club or
patience.
No, it's pretty popular.
I think it depends on what kind of circles you running in. I think it depends
The
on
California
the environment.
Motorcycle Club.
Yeah, it
Apparently,
could be.
yeah.
Could be. No, I
You're
think
running
it's
with
more
some
relevant.
hoodlums, Larry.
No, I thought it was a fashion statement of some sort, and that you would
think
know.
so. I mean, beards are definitely on trend and have been for what, the last 4 or 5 years, maybe. No, a
Even
little
longer,
Longer.
You
because
got
I
really
was
disappointed about having to shave your beard at one point.
You know
when,
those
when I
Duck
was
Brothers?
married,
Yeah.
so that was 7, 8 years ago, and she hated it, but I was gonna do it.
I am so jealous. Can we change this? How much is in your checking account?
you look so cute.
I just keep writing checks until they bounce. I don't really think about it. Hey, years ago, we used to call it kiting to make payroll when you're in the company.
They still call it kiting.
I didn't know that. But anyway, you used to be able to call the bank and say, what came in today, I'll cover it. And so you'd go to Vegas, win a couple $100, bring it back, put it in the payroll account. You know,
Solid
you own a
business
company I
plan.
did when I was young. It's a bitch to own a company when you have other people to feed, other mouths to take care of, other responsibilities, rent, utilities, payroll, government, you know.
Can we change the subject?
No, I'm saying,
Lighten it up,
We just
Larry.
keep changing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
no, I'm
yeah,
saying this
no,
for a
I'm just
reason.
joking.
Sometimes I have to be more thoughtful to say a guy like Zuckerberg, obviously they start in the garage. The amount of wealth they accumulated is far beyond my expectations. But they had something nobody else had, and they executed on it. And the responsibilities they have, it seems to be, I don't know. I read books about the Carnegies and the Mellons and the Vanderbilts. They were pretty wealthy dudes compared to the average population, make $1 an ounce or like that. But they built something that no one else could have. So I do admire entrepreneurship. It just seems it's disproportionate, and a lot of it is fueled by our ability to buy those stocks and elevate their wealth. So, how much do I have in my checking account?
No, get your phone out and tell us exactly how much.
You know, I know every day to the penny how much I have, and I have to tell my wife, honey, don't use that credit card. And she shops at Anthropology. I'm glad you brought that up. Because it has to have a label on it or it doesn't work. You know, it has to have a certain panache, a certain relevance.
Well, and that is something. So I have a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old. So they're just starting to get out into the world, and
Really?
like one of them is just buying furniture for the first time, but they are impervious to labels, and I think that it's their
Seriously?
generation. Like none of them care.
My son's the same.
They
At
do
20,
not
he
care
doesn't
about
See, I don't see that in
brand
my
names.
area.
We had to have Guess jeans and you know
Yeah,
like
Jabodes,
Yeah.
and Calvin Klein,
and
yeah,
the
all-
shoe. You know, you had to have Nike
Yeah.
shoes, and,
Yeah.
and they do not
Like you would
care.
get made
I don't
fun
know.
of. If
You know, I probably
Yeah.
live in a bubble, but right now it's Aloe. Before that it was Lululemon. Before that it was something else.
The brands are
But
still
that's-
there,
that's
but that's
our
for our
age and up,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's not the kids.
I guess I live in a bubble.
Well, and so even that it is
Oh.
it is different because that we have friends that have kids that have the
I know you're going
brand
to edit
stuff.
the next time. So give me your impression of alternative channels, forward positioning, bringing in inventory in from Asia, subverting distribution models, selling direct to consumer from a factory overseas.
That was just like fucking 7 questions.
Yeah, what?
Very
let me
big ones.
let me write these down. Give me a pen.
How do you feel like? How
There's
do you
7
feel about
different
factories?
episodes.
How do
Yeah.
you feel about factories, forward positioning inventory, and warehousing in the U.S. becoming an importer of record, and then selling it directly to consumers through the Temu models?
Yeah, I think it's a problem.
How do you
Scary.
feel about
I think it's a problem. I mean, I think a lot of things that we allow in this country.
Okay, so I'm going to say, I do too. We all agree. Did you think when Sam Walton opened his first store, it was going to create a problem? Some cities don't. Well, in other words, it's evolution. Are we fearing evolution, or are we willing to engage in it? Because there are ways of participating in it, and there's a ways of showing fear for it. And so that's my dilemma. Is I don't know if I'm supposed to.
Should we embrace it and work with it, or tariff it?
I don't know that we have a choice. I really don't know if we have a choice. We built an entire platform overseas for Asian manufacturers to succeed, and then we created an environment where our consumption fell off dramatically, and they still have a lot of people that they created responsibility for. So if they can subvert and use alternative channels, that may be something we have to accept.
Yeah.
I guess it's not a question, it's a statement.
It's big. It's deep.
It's a lot.
This is 3 bourbons in, and
But it's on
you're coming
everybody's
with the
mind.
Yeah, what happened to
deep
lightening
stuff.
it up?
Come on, tell
But
me
how
one
does it
piece
make
of-
you feel?
Contradictory
inside?
Larry is the new.
Yeah.
You guys are, the thought that you're too young. You never had any experiential workshops where they beat the shit. It's like going to boot camp in the army.
Yeah.
And by the time, you feel so demoralized and beaten and bruised. And then the final day they elevate you to a point of spirituality that you think you can conquer the world. There's so many things you guys missed growing up, unfortunately.
I'm glad for it. Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, we're both divorced, so.
No.
We've been beaten down a bunch.
Hold on. Wait, let's be clear. What do you mean I waited till I was 60 to get married, so obviously.
Did you
and
really?
She only married me because she needed a green card, and
That's the way to do it.
You didn't get married until 60 years old.
yeah, nobody asked me. I mean, I was waiting.
I love that.
You're supposed to ask.
Maybe that's what I did wrong.
Maybe that's what you did wrong. But maybe you did it right. I mean, I look back at, kind of like what we were as a couple then and like who she was as a woman. I would never make the decision to marry that type of person. You're just so much wiser, right? Like you're
Change.
getting married now again.
I'm getting married
What are you, 108,
Friday the
109? So,
For
you
the
getting
second
married.
time.
Yeah.
And you have adult children.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you watched Love is Blind? My wife's addicted.
No.
Okay, so you meet in cubicles. Well, you don't see each other. You talk in cubicles for about 8 weeks, and and then eventually, before you meet, you propose, and before you propose, you decide to get married. Then you decide to meet each other. So it's definitely not based on physical appearances, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty fascinating dynamic that some of these people actually survive and thrive, and some of them within a week or two, they meet their demise.
Yeah. Well, I have an industry gal. She's in the furniture industry too.
So at least one of you's working, right?
I guarantee she's not talking on a podcast.
Yeah, right now, drinking a bourbon in the middle of the day at High Point
Wait, so
during
you're-
our
so-
Super
so
Bowl.
you're-
Wearing a
Currently
weird
married?
jumpsuit.
You are married right now, right?
Me? No.
You were married.
I was married, yeah. I was with the same woman for 21 years, married for 11. I've been divorced going on 7 years, yeah.
And I've been divorced 9 years.
Yeah.
And
So
with-
one of our best clients sold his company called Go Fish or something for $650. It was a dating
Goldfish,
service.
the cracker company.
No, Goldfish or something. It was like a dating service.
Oh, okay.
So
Plenty of fish.
Plenty of fish? Yeah, that's
Plenty
what it
of
is.
fish.
Yeah.
He was in today. So I did my profile, I put on a whole bunch, and I got nothing. First of all, big mistake. I used my initials as my nickname, MLF. I think that's funny, but it's not. I didn't know that that's what it meant. So I got Mill, so that didn't work. So then, have you met Toby Konetsny from South Bay?
I don't.
You
I
must
may,
have.
it
He's
may
one
be,
of my
yeah.
closest
What
friends.
is your first name?
Larry? Michael Lawrence Furiani, MLF. Made sense to
Oh.
me.
Why are you not Michael or Mike?
I was named after an angel, and I guess it didn't fit, so they gave me the nickname. Yeah, so I thought dating was a solution, through these solutions. And when we started, they didn't have computers, so we used, first we used folders. But you never met the person. So they would take your picture and put it in a folder. They'd take somebody else's picture, and they'd charge these women about $10,000.
This is like
for 6 dates.
executive dating.
$10,000 a date. But in my age group, they didn't have guys my age that wanted to go out with women their age. So they said, look, we'll make a deal. We won't charge you to be a member, but you have to take people out on very nice dates. You have to spend a little money on them. So I felt like, I
It's a
guess.
fair trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I met the most wonderful people, but there was really no connection. So then you go to something like eHarmony, where if you're not spiritually gifted, and you take years to find somebody. By the time I got to Match, I had met so many people in so many different walks of life, and found how many amazing people there were. But typically, the most successful ones, they would sit with me and they'd say, well, have you been married before? No, disqualifier. Do you have any kids? No, disqualifier. Have you ever been divorced?
Disqualified you?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that would
have you ever
make you
been
a
divorced?
unicorn.
And then they'll tell you how much they hated their last 4 husbands and how miserable they were. And I'm not qualified to be a husband. I'd say, let me see. You fucked up the last one. You messed up the last 2 relationships, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, but I had a lot of that going on. And then when I went to what they call Match.com, now you guys, all this young stuff we use, which I'm sure you use that stuff.
Nah.
Go out on the
not
corner,
me.
dial a date. I was with a friend of mine in New Orleans, who I can't use his name, and we were going through a museum or some bullshit, and he disappears for about 5 minutes. I said, where'd you go? And all of a sudden, this girl pulls up out of nowhere in a car, and it's a Tinder thing, and I didn't even know that kind of stuff existed. I didn't know it was that easy. I would spend like months trying to get somebody to pay attention to me. So the point is, I had Toby write my thing. All of a sudden, everything changed. I started getting, because I was trying to be spiritual, and you know, I love my cat, and I go to church every Sunday. Bullshit. Nobody wants to hear that.
And so is that where you ended up meeting your wife?
I met my wife. She wouldn't give me the time of day. She had this amazing picture of herself with this gorgeous yacht in the background, and I'm like totally enamored with boats. So I'm thinking she's from Colombia.
You are
She's
on
got
the board
money.
of your yacht club.
Yeah.
Aren't
so
you?
yeah. So I figured she's got money. She's from Colombia. Her dad's a drug dealer. I am set for life. And she needs
Everything
a
I ever
visa.
wanted.
And
Family discount.
and she wasn't here. So I had been told by somebody else, stop spending money on all these people. You're wasting, going to dinner, just tell your meter to Starbucks. And I thought, oh, that's kind of low life.
I mean, I feel like we've had that.
We've
same
had a lot of those
discussion about
conversations,
you.
yeah.
So I go to Starbucks, and she's already there, and she's very polite, very personable, and we start talking. Now, you never say to a girl, would you like to go home on a first date, or would you like to get my, you never say those things, it's not appropriate. So I said, hey, I'm going down to the boat this afternoon, would you like to join me? And I thought she would absolutely, and she said yes. So I said, where's your car? And she said, my daughter dropped me off. So we go down to the boat,
Red
and I had
flag.
best friends that were pimping me out all day, telling how great it was. I think we proposed years because she needed the green card. So I said, where do you live? And she goes, I live in Irvine. So I said, well, I'll give you a ride home. Okay, I'll give you a ride home. So literally, we go to this gate-guarded community, and she gives the name, the gate. Well, actually, the truth is I live in the same community, but I don't know that. So for 2 years, she was my neighbor and never met her before. After that, I was like a stalker. I'd go by and make sure there was no guys coming to her house at night. There was no cars out front.
You sure you want to put this on the internet?
Too late.
Got
Well,
him.
not that kind of stuff. So I'm saying it's serendipity. You just never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
When you're least expecting it sometimes is when you... So how does this Tinder thing work exactly?
Well, Grindr's way better.
Grinder?
No, I'm kidding.
That sounds too physical. Now,
It
going
is.
back to
It
what
is.
Dan does. Okay, so now you got Dan as your best friend, your third best friend. He's doing sexual, what do you call it? Education.
Wellness.
With tools and apparatus, I was told.
Oh, and lotions and
And lotions.
and outfits and talking and. But
Just
yeah,
to be
like-
clear, we came up with an invention, a bunch of us
I'm
got
in.
together. And it was supposed to enhance male. So we went to one of these adult video conferences and set up a little booth and stuff like that. At the same time the CS show was going, there were more people in that exhibit hall than you've ever seen looking at TVs and electronics and stuff like that. It's a big business.
Yeah.
That's what he's banking on.
Yeah.
That it's an underserved market, and it is becoming more mainstream. Like the things that you used to have to go to a porn store for, you can now get at Walmart and CVS. And so I think that they're banking on that.
Really?
Personal massagers, you don't have to go to the seedy place with no windows. You can now get them at mainstream stores. And so it's the evolution of that.
I don't like that.
So wait a minute,
I
you
like
guys-
the idea of, the family outing to the sex shop.
Family outing, take the kids.
Yeah.
So you guys, any venture capitalist investment? Is he looking for investors or
I'm
seed
sure he
money?
would accept
Any
whatever
seed
you're willing to give.
or take?
Or any test
No
dummies,
idea.
man. If it needs a test dummy.
Okay, so we've touched on sex, politics,
Religion.
senility.
We did touch a little religion.
How about your parents?
talked about your-
the next generation.
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah, I do too.
I have them. Yep,
Yeah,
my
how about-
parents. In fact, another interesting furniture shopper journey things. My dad just moved, so he is 78, born in 46.
No
78.
way.
That's 78, right?
Yeah, 78.
So he's 78. He just moved 2 months ago from one house to another. Bought all new furniture.
Oh my gosh.
So it's 78. So people cut off their advertising at 65 or whatever. So and he was
What
only
was
in the
that?
last house for 7 years. So he bought all new furniture there.
Oh my
But at
gosh.
that time he was still in the business. And so they came to market, him and his wife came to market, and
Sure.
they picked out all their furniture here. So now this was his first time buying furniture as a muggle, as a
As a
regular
muggle, yeah.
regular person. And my dad, furniture industry guy. My grandfather had furniture stores. My dad was in the furniture industry his entire life, furniture and mattress. And so, as a furniture industry guy, hated hated Wayfair.
Really?
These are.
So what did he do?
He bought stuff on Wayfair.
Jeez. Yeah.
He bought everywhere. He had the same journey that I had. They went to stores. They bought some stuff at stores. They bought from Mater Brothers. They bought from Haverty's. They bought Hooker
Really?
dining room set. And he's got a Wayfair kitchenette, like a dinette
Yeah.
set. And he bought living room furniture from Haverty's, I believe, and then rugs from online, or just the journey was all over the place. And this is a guy who's dedicated. When we were kids, he said when our deal with my stepbrothers when we were in high school was, he said, if you graduate high school and keep your nose clean, I'll buy you a car.
A car.
But it has to be an American car. And the reason it has to be an American car is because the people that make American cars retire and they move to Florida and they buy a mattress. And he was in the
No.
mattress business. Like
Yeah.
that was the thought process was
A visionary.
yeah, this is how dedicated he is to, local furniture mattress business, and he's buying all over, Wayfair
Wayfair.
and all these different local stores.
Okay,
So-
I'm waiting for the joke you're going to tell me. We've been here a long time already. I know you have a sense of humor, but you're holding back.
I feel like we've had lots
Nothing-
of jokes.
we
haven't
nothing
been.
said it's
Why
funny.
do I feel insecure? Like I have to
have
prove
one.
myself to Larry.
I have one, and we'll end the episode on this joke.
Okay.
You've
All
heard
right.
it. Larry's not heard it. How do you sell a chicken to a deaf person? You want to buy a chicken?
Larry, it's been so good having you on,
that
man.
note-
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
What a
Larry.
pleasure.
So,
And while that was nice because we were able to pick the best sellers and things like that, what you found was,
Bitch, I can see you falling asleep while I'm telling my
I'm
story.
not falling asleep. Look, just try it.
You would be, I'm a little, you would be.